Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach, and I help people shift away from negative thinking, and it transforms their inner and outer worlds. And I'm in San Diego, California.
Each week, we start our discussion from a different jumping-off point, and this week we are going to start off with something Stephanie wanted to talk about. She wasn't super confident about it. She did some stretching, and that made her more confident.
I was like, oh, all right. Colin's like, okay, well then you're gonna start off. And I'm like, I forget it. What else do you want to talk about? And he starts going, what? And I'm like, I just stretch. Oh, and I'm like, all right, let's just do this.
I feel like I'm gonna try that. Like it felt like you shifted your vibration by stretching. You were like, oh, negative.
And I just needed to stretch. I just need to stretch, and all these thoughts are going through my head as I'm stretching. Then I'm like, F it, let's do this. I'm rolling with it. Cool. So it was kind of something about, we were talking about in last week's episode about, I'd love to hear and know, like, so I spoke a little bit about, we were talking about, I said, and I was so checked out, and you're like, really? Sounds like you were checked in. And I was like, oh, I really love that. So I'm going to take that and run with it. And I want to know, like, what, I talked a little bit about what I do to check in, which is like the sound healing. And I'm going to talk to Liz and see if maybe they can have it, once a month, or I'm going to look for others, because I just love that. And then doing the Korean spa or getting a massage, and I was thinking, like, I really need to up my spending in those areas, like set aside money, whether it be $200 every month or what have you, to incorporate that into my life, because I find, like, I am someone who needs to check in those ways. And so what are some of the ways for you, Collin? And I'd love to hear from everyone else. What are some of the ways that help you, I used to say checked out, get in that blissful state, but now it's like, okay, checking in that blissful state, or in that happy place, or that relaxed place of like, ah, like life is good. The thoughts kind of slow down. I'm not worried about anything. I'm just kind of like, all is well in the world. Like, what?
I think for me, it's different things at different times, kind of depending on where my vibration was at the moment, what's going on in my life. Because I feel like there are sort of some standard, I don't know if standard is the right word, but some more, I don't know, like sort of the things like massage works really well for me. I need to get more massages. I've been thinking about that for a while. I've done a sound healing with our mutual friend Zoe, who used to live in San Diego and now lives in Austin, Texas. I mean, it was amazing. She's actually given me an MP3 that I have on my phone. That it's not exactly like a full sound healing session in a room, but it's a lot of what she would what you would hear in one of her sound healing sessions, and it's amazing. So yeah, and I listened to a lot of now on YouTube there are just so many different channels and things that have amazing meditation music. I mean, some people use an app like Calm, or I forget, there's like 3 or 4 other big ones that are like that just have a bunch of different, you can either have a narrator narrate a guided meditation for you with some relaxing sounds or music, or you can just have, I usually just listen to just relaxing sounds of music, like
me too,
like a train in the distance, or rain gently falling on a windowsill, or something like that. So those are sort of
the train in the distance. Is that like the track, like the train going over the track?
Yeah.
Is okay. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like you being on a train, I guess, is more.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
It's just that kind of repetitive, like.
And then what about, I know you were working, I think you were working with Tanya and Angelique at one point. Were you working with both of them at different times, or was it just Angelique or Tanya?
Oh, Angelica.
Sorry.
Yeah, so Angelica Sepulveda is a mutual friend of ours now. She's a massage therapist, and she's amazing. So yeah, she's the primary person in Los Angeles I go to for massages. and I couldn't recommend her more highly. She's amazing.
I was thinking of you. I saw your Instagram post the other day. I was like,
Yeah,
"Ooh, I think when we had her as our guest, I
yeah.
had the thought of like taking the train up. I need to find out how far she is from the train station to her place, but so I'm
I
gonna
think
call
we talked
you,
about that. It's not that far.
Angelica.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Um, but also, yeah, and my friend Tanya Villegas, who is a yoga practitioner, but she also works with crystal healing. So she does these joint sort of combined sessions of like, it's mostly a yoga session, um, but there's crystal healing in addition to that. And that's been amazing for me. So there's things like that that are kind of like more, I don't know what the right adjective is, sort of more traditionally spiritual, I guess, is what I would
Hmm.
say. But then there's other things that are just like, like listening to the right kind of music, not necessarily meditation music or whatever, but like, if I want to get into a good mood, I mean, I think I've told you before, Prince's "Let's Go Crazy" never fails. Like it just never fails.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if I want to feel happy, if I kind of need to feel happy and excited, like quickly, "Let's Go Crazy" by Prince is just like the thing that gets me there. So
Mhm.
um, that's it. But I would also say like um, talking to you or my sister can do that as long as I'm in
Mhm.
a good vibration when I call, like we talked about
Yeah,
last week.
yeah.
Watching football makes me very happy and puts me in
Mm,
that happy place. Playing
mm.
Dungeons and Dragons, obviously, puts me into
But
that
also
good
then, okay,
vibration.
so those are like happy places. What about
Yeah.
that more relaxed kind of chill vibe?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that this is just for me, but like when I'm trying to get in touch with my higher self, my inner being,
Mhm.
um, like the getting relaxed through those more spiritual things is one route to get there. But I think there's this term, and I forget. I think I read it in Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work Week, and he has this whole concept of like there's stress and then there's some other word. I can't remember what it is. Um, but it's like there's kind of what we say is stress in
Mhm.
life is kind of there's massive scientific evidence now that it is toxic and harmful to our bodies, to our minds, all
Yeah,
these things.
yeah.
But there is a way of being excited about something and enjoying something
Right.
that might have some intensity to it. But if the intensity is positive,
Right.
that it's
Absolutely.
still a high vibration.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like there's probably a range of routes there, but in the big picture, there's kind of the relaxing way, but there's also the doing something that is in total alignment with who I am, that I'm excited about, that I'm interested in.
Right. Yeah. And I think these are two different things. And so I'm coming more from like what gets you in that, because do you like to walk barefoot on the beach?
I do, yeah.
And does that get you into that like grounded, kind of calm space? Or when you're
The-
done, do you feel
It's funny.
connected and
It depends on the beach,
okay.
because that's a weird thing. Because I grew up in Maine, and our beaches, I mean, they do get busy during the summer, I guess, but like they tend to be not busy by Southern California standards. And
Oh
like
yeah.
the first time I went to Pacific Beach in San
Uh-huh.
Diego, I was
Uh-huh.
like, it was just mobbed with people from my
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. No,
Um,
it is. Mission
and
Beach.
I was like, oh my God, this is a little
Yeah.
stressful. Like there's a lot of
No.
people I got to navigate, and there's people
Yeah.
trying to surf and everything. Like, so yeah, but it
Well,
can
and I
be.
guess I come from, because I won't I do my best not to go down there in the summer, and if I do, I go
Yeah.
early morning before the crowds go.
Yeah.
But like, I went to Coronado with Sam a week ago Friday, and when we went, it was high tide, and they were having this phenomenon with the weather, and so the week prior, the um I can't think of the word right now. Um, the ocean was coming up onto the boardwalk almost, and
Mhm.
so it wiped out the beach. But the further down towards the Coronado Naval Base, we could walk on the beach, and there weren't a lot of people. Friday, in what was it, January. And those are kind of the times and the places that I like to go where there's less people and it's kind of relaxing and it's grounding. And
Yeah, see, for
so,
me, that's the optimal time to go to beaches in Southern California, because in Southern California, people think March is still winter. And for me, if it's 67 degrees, it's summer. So I go to the beach during the summer and there's nobody there because they all think it's winter. And it works out great for me.
yeah, yeah. And so doing that, then what kind of state of mind does that put you in, and state of body?
Yeah, I think I see what you're getting at. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, when I'm relaxed in body and mind, and for me, it's important to get to both, together. Because I can theoretically have a relaxed body, but if my mind is going all over the place, then it's kind of not the best experience. Same
Mhm.
thing, I can quiet my mind, but if I'm like this, like, then it's not going to stay quiet for very long. Um, yeah, but I think if I with the times where I'm able through massage or sound healing or whatever to get to that point where my mind and my body feels very relaxed, then it's like the noise that's often in my brain, sort of worrying about things, scaring myself about things, criticizing others, criticizing myself, all that kind of floats away.
Right.
And I'm just sort of
Yes.
left with like a more pure experience of who I really am.
And that's that
And,
checked in that we
and
were
the
talking
awareness.
about.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
awareness. Or I think a lot of people, I think Abraham Hicks, which if you don't know Abraham Hicks, Google, um, uh, you know, says it's more like remembering, it's like,
Mm,
because we come into the world as infants and kids, like knowing that we are these divine beings, and then
yeah.
we get programmed that, oh, we're
Right.
just
Yeah.
people and we don't
Yeah.
mean that much, and blah blah
Blah
blah.
blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, yeah, and that's what and that is a very different experience
Yeah.
of being in one with your higher self, your
Yeah.
inner being. And we can go about it in different ways. And, like those higher things of dancing, like you were saying, or
Yeah.
playing music you love and whatever. And so from this state, okay, so walking on the beach, what are some other things? So then doing the yoga and then getting a massage.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm trying to think of some other things other than just the listening to the soothing music or that.
I know sometimes for me coming out of a nap, I'll
Yeah,
feel that place.
there are times, either I think for me it's more like when I'm kind of like appropriately tired and I put myself to bed at the right time, which is
Mhm.
doesn't always happen, but
Yeah.
and I feel that kind of like, oh, this is perfect. Like, I'm tired,
Mm,
my bed's super comfy, and this is great. And I do feel sometimes like a lot of the cares of life just sort of float away, and I'm like, oh,
oh.
life is great. My life is great.
That's
So great.
awesome.
There's so many
Yeah.
great things in my life. I'm so happy right now. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
yeah, that's one that I
yeah,
don't think about, but it is
yeah.
definitely one of the regular ones for me.
Because I think I felt that yesterday when I wasn't surprised. I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised that I took a nap because I had had a full day. I had the day before was really full,
Yeah.
and so I was tired and I had gotten up really early on Saturday morning, and then had a full day. So 1:30 comes around and then I'm lying down and the lights are dimmed and what
Yeah.
have you. And so of course I'm gonna, fall asleep. So I was a little disappointed I fell asleep, but at the same time, I'm like, my body needed rest and needed to sleep. And then I wake up and I'm just like in this really neutral, blissful state. And was a little disappointed I'd fallen asleep. And then just kind of like I was so present.
Mm.
And I could hear people some people were still snoring, the music was going, Liz was singing and talking um and music, I mean instruments, whether it was the crystal bowl or whatever. I think that's what it was. I was really present.
Yeah.
And my thoughts had slowed down and I was aware of how I felt and what was going on around me. And the gentleman that was lying next to me, he was younger than me, and he obviously, I heard later in just hearing him chat with someone, he was in the process of becoming a yoga teacher, but he when we were oming, his ohms were very long, and then he just had this deep tone, like it was beautiful. And so I was listening to him, and I remember thinking, because I'll hear myself snoring or doing whatever when I'm sleeping, and I was like, oh man, was I snoring? Like, got a little bit into that thought, but
It'd be funny. I feel like when you're about to fall asleep, you're just like, I'm so peaceful right now, and then like as soon as you fall asleep, you're just like, like,
or I do this like little guttural, like something with my
yeah,
breathing, and it's so funny,
yeah,
or something. I don't know. It's really, yeah. um, but yeah, it was, talk about being present. And that's what it helped me do, is to become very present, instead of, I can be in my body, but then my head, my thoughts are just going a mile a minute. And they're like, you were saying earlier about like negative thoughts or worry thoughts, and it, the, uh the toll that it takes on my body. Because what I've been seeing again, like I'll have a negative thought, and if I'm like, I dropped my keys, it had been raining, and so the dirt was kind of, it was moist, and I had a negative thought, and I dropped my keys, and the little clicker for my car like was face down, and so it got a little dirty. And I'm like, wow, I actually got to see the impact on my body
mm,
when I thought that negative thought. Like, I went weak. That's why I dropped
mm,
my keys. And I thought, damn girl, that's happening all the time whenever, and I don't even know it, because I'm not holding something, so I'm not seeing the impact that it has on my body.
mm,
And when I think about, we're all doing that to ourselves throughout the day, and we don't even know the harm that it's, the impact that it's having on us, like mentally, physically, emotionally.
yeah,
And I really believe, I'm coming to believe, like, that is where disease comes from. Dis-ease, that when it's not expressed healthfully, and we're not doing the check-ins, and all these other things, the dancing and whatever, that all that negative emotion, the self-talk of like the reprimand, and the loathing, or whatever, the disappointment, like I talked about in last week's episode, of just kind of being hard on myself, that I hadn't been able to take care of this um time sensitive 401k issue, and that I was going to have a repercussion, but then possibly it'll all work out. Had I really continue to be harmful of myself and beating myself up, like, what that would have done to my psyche and my spirit and my physical body. And I think a lot of people are doing that a lot and don't even know the impact that it has on them over years of
and
time.
in addition to the the physical harm and illness and all that, which is definitely going on. I think the other thing, and this makes me very sad sometimes when I think too much about it, is just that like going back to what you said about being in the present, is that when I'm worrying or obsessing negatively or judging some person or situation negatively or whatever, I am never in the present. I think that's what's so remarkable to me also about the sound healing and massage, is like all of a sudden it feels like these layers of things go away, and suddenly I'm like, oh, the present moment. Hello. Nice to meet you again. Like I haven't been here in a while, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like it's this kind of surprise of like, oh, it's not that I'm visiting the present moment like once in a while. It's that I am checked out of the present moment most of the time. Like I'm worrying about, because like when you were talking about beating yourself up, beating myself up is always about me having a bunch of thoughts about something I should have done differently in the past, which I cannot change. So like
Yeah.
what the hell is the
Yeah.
purpose of that? I mean,
I
there's such a thing as
know.
learning, but there's
Yeah.
also like, oh no, let's go think about that thing you did, that dumb thing you did yesterday again, and think about how stupid we are.
Repetitive over and over,
It's like
right?
I am not in the present.
Oh, I know.
And
Oh.
so much of it is not just about, I mean, I think it's important for me that like those things help me get more in line with my higher self, my inner being, get in alignment with my higher power as I understand it. But it's also just like it helps me be present in the present moment, which means I'm not missing my life. I think there's
Yeah.
just, I think about how much I've spent in my mind, how much time I've spent in my mind.
Yeah.
And like, if you had a camera on me, this is what you'd see me at home at this desk, and I'd be like this. Now, that doesn't look like anything's going on, but I am checked out. I am thinking about, something that happens in the past. Or
Yeah.
even better, I'm creating little movies about futures that will never happen, that are
Yeah.
very scary, and like horror movies,
Yeah.
about all these terrible things that will happen. And I am sitting here and you think like, well, why, I don't see him moving. I don't see it. It's like, because I'm not really here. Like, my body's here, my brain's
Yeah.
doing things,
Yeah.
but my brain is like focusing on so much that's not the present moment, that I'm not
Right.
really feeling
Right.
present.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other thing that's really wonderful and remarkable about those. I sort of see them as tools, massage, sound healing,
Yeah.
all these things
Yeah. Yeah.
that can, meditation, yoga, that can help you. I mean, that's one thing. I've been doing a lot of yoga in I have a fitness coach now that I do workouts with
Nice.
twice a week,
Hmm.
and she's huge into yoga, and she incorporates yoga. And so what I'm hyper aware of anytime I do any yoga position is like, it just unavoidably gets you to focus in the present on what the heck is going on in your body.
Mm.
Because there's times where like I have to balance, my whole body on just my left leg, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I got to think about
Fierce.
where my fingers are. I got to think about
Yeah.
what my shoulders are doing. I got to think
Yeah.
about how much weight I've got on my left knee. Like, and I'm just hyper aware in those moments of like, wow, I'm never this present about
Yeah. And
what's going on right
focused.
now with me
Fo-
in my body. Yeah.
and focused on, yeah, the here and now, like
Yeah.
what is going on. Yeah. Keeping yourself up. Well, and I've noticed too, because I can get in those blissful states. And then, sometimes even after having a massage, like 10 minutes later, my shoulders are up to my ears. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
can feel tension in my neck. And I'm like, I can't be in a massage 24/7. Like, what is
Yeah.
it that I can do? And I've just noticed, like, I have these repetitive thoughts. Like, I have this thing about being late, and I'm rarely ever late, but I'm like, the time I got to be somewhere, and I'll be like, okay, Steph, these thoughts, come on, we're going to be late. And then of course, my body is responding. Right. And so it's just, what I'm doing is like noticing like what I'm saying, what I'm thinking, how my body's feeling. And I'm like, Steph, that's where it's going to all come back to. Now you can get as many massages as you want, but if you don't take it at its root and take care of it there, it doesn't matter. Like, you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on all these different modalities, but it's like me, wherever I'm at in the moment, what am I thinking to myself and how am I feeling?
Yeah.
And I have to become aware of it first. So it is a
I just,
process.
I just want to share this thing. This is kind of random, but it got sparked by something you said. Is, if not that we're necessarily trying to convert anybody who doesn't believe that the law of attraction is the thing into believing in it, because that usually doesn't work. But if I was just thinking to myself, if anybody wants to see like real hard proof of the law of attraction in action, they can come with me anytime I go to Starbucks. Because one thing I haven't kicked yet, and it's just because it's not priority, I haven't spent time on it. I will have to at some point because it's super annoying. I have this thought, belief that Starbucks is going to forget my order. And so if you go with me to Starbucks, here's what happens almost every single time. And in Los Angeles, Starbucks are always just like mobbed. There's tons of people in there. So you will see 40 people order very complicated drinks at Starbucks. And then one by one, they will all get their drink, no problem. And you will see me order a fairly simple drink, like a decaf coffee, normal, and they will forget it. I'll be the only one. I will be the only one. And yeah, and that's just because like there's something that I haven't fixed yet. Like when I walk into a Starbucks, I guess it happened to me a few times in the early going when I first started going to Starbucks, and it just became a thing like, Starbucks, they always forget my order. So like when I walk into a Starbucks, this
Yeah.
computer program plays in my head of like, these, and I'm in LA, there's always 40 people in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's too many people, they're not going to keep track of all the orders,
Yeah.
especially mine. And yeah, and then it's like, and again, not about, I'm not in the present, right? I've got to be
Uh,
thinking about things that are either the times they forgot before, or
yeah.
worrying about the one that
Yeah.
hasn't happened yet that I'm
Yeah.
manifesting as we speak.
Well, and I
um,
thought you were gonna say what I thought you were gonna say is, and then I spill it every time I go to drink it. I
oh
spill it on
no,
me because wasn't that a thing for you a long time ago that you would the lid wouldn't be on right and then you'd get a little bit on you? Did was that you that that would happen
I
to?
don't think that's, I mean,
Okay.
I'm not ruling it out,
Okay.
but I don't think that's me. I
Okay.
am, no, I'm the guy that they always forget my order,
Okay, got it.
because I
Okay.
have a belief
Okay.
that is just
Yeah.
completely stupid and unnecessary, but I have this belief that they will forget, and I just never remember to work on it. And then I go to Starbucks when someone else, I'm with somebody and they're like, "Oh, you want
Yeah.
to go to Starbucks?" And
Yeah.
so I'm not thinking about like, "Oh yeah, fine,
Uh,
it's fine."
yeah.
And then we go to Starbucks, and then I'm like, "Oh shit." I
Oh.
forgot how Starbucks always forgets my order. Again, it's just one of those things. Like, you will see the other 39 people,
Because they
triple
don't
mocha
they
latte with a shot of whatever,
because they expect to get their
with
drink.
the holiday special pumpkin
Yeah.
sprinkles and all these things, and like they will nail it. They'll just be like 6 minutes later.
I do think there is something to that though, because they are so used to all of these fancy drinks that like a hot
My drink is
coffee
too
regular, it's
simple.
like
That's
whatever.
possible.
Like
That's
they just
possible.
it's not even on their radar, because I
Yeah,
kind of feel that way with tea. Like
yeah.
I'll be like, what the F? Like they made all these like fancy drinks so quickly. I'm like, it's a freaking tea. Like pour it in a thing and
I didn't expect to be spending this much time talking about the law of attraction and how it works at Starbucks, but given that we're
my
here,
preference is coffee bean and tea leaf. Thank
that
you.
is, I feel like it is an interesting phenomenon that you just mentioned, and is possibly accurate here, but it's still about the law of attraction, which is that, like, if something is familiar to us,
Mhm.
that's more important than how simple or complicated it is.
Yeah.
Like, if we do something
Good
every day,
point.
it can be the most complicated thing in the world, but we do it like this. But it can be the simplest thing in the world, and if we're not used to it, it can
Yeah.
throw us for a total loop. And
Yeah.
part of that is because we have this belief that, like, things that are familiar to us are easy, and things that
Mhm.
are not familiar to us are hard,
Harder.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I've done a lot of work in my life, like on helping people with IT, technical computer type issues, your smartphone software, things like that. And if you're in that line of work, and God bless everybody who's in that line of work, because it's so challenging. I'm very grateful that I'm not in it anymore. But if you're in that line of work, one of the things you have to deal with is, you'd think, the problem is teaching people your thing, and it's not. Like, if they have, like, I don't know why my computer's doing this thing, you'd think, well, all you need, the real thing you're going to need to do as the tech support person, is just explain to them how to do what they need to do. That is often not the problem at all. The problem quite often is that the person is so frustrated, they now believe they can't understand it.
Yeah.
And
True.
so you can explain it from, pre nursery school level all the way to PhD. It doesn't matter, because
Right.
they have this belief that they're hemmed
Right.
into, that,
Yeah.
like, this is too complicated for me, or it's too
Good
unfamiliar,
point.
and I'm not
Yeah.
going to understand it. So
Yeah.
your point about Starbucks is probably correct, but it's still the same sort of, I do believe that if I could shift my belief to, like,
Oh,
Starbucks is awesome,
absolutely.
always get my
Yep.
order right, it would
Absolutely.
get right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I am also bumping up probably against their law of attraction, which
Yeah.
is, I know how to do complicated drinks all day.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this weird guy
It's gonna
orders
throw me
one.
off. It's gonna
It's
throw
gonna
me
throw
off
me off. Yeah,
of
it's
my
too busy. There's too many people
momentum.
in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're probably right about that. All right. Well, we solved. If any of the executives for Starbucks are listening, we just helped you out there. Um, we hope you enjoyed this conversation, and we hope you got something out of it. We're so happy and grateful that you join us, especially those of you who join every week. We're so
Thank
grateful for all
you.
of
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, as always, to Kelly, Jacqueline, Angelica, Teresa,
Sarah.
Sarah. Yeah, sorry, I was blanking on her name, which is odd. because she comments on like every video. But thank you all so much. And if we forgot your name, we thank you also. Remember that we are posting a brand new episode for you every Monday morning at this point. We truly appreciate you doing anything your platform allows you to do to help support the podcast. All our information and email address is in the doobly doo down below in the YouTube video. We wish you a happy, abundant week. We hope all your Starbucks and coffee bean orders show up the way you ordered it and quickly on time. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Bye.